Hi, my name's Lauren Ratcliffe. I am based in Cape Town in South Africa, and today is the 16th of September 2024. So my background is actually in psychology. I really wanted to study art when I was younger, and unfortunately I couldn't go and do fine art for university because it wasn't really what my parents wanted me to do, which I totally get because you never know if you're going to make money as an artist. Now I know that you can, but back then it wasn't so clear. So I went and studied organizational psychology, went into marketing for a while because I wanted to do something creative, but that environment wasn't quite as creative as I thought it would be. And I ended up moving more into the world of psychology, leadership development, teamwork, branding, and that is where I consulted in for the last sort of 13 or 15 years before I became a full-time artist. And I really feel like it has massively informed the work that I do now. I also feel like I'm much more mature and not only in age, but in how I see the world, and I believe in myself. Whereas when I was 18, I'm not really sure that I did. Some of my biggest influences are South African artists, Kate Gotkins, who does some really ethereal sort of figure work, and she's at Smack Gallery. I also love South African artist Swain Hoogevorst, who is at Everard Reed, and Karen Elkington. Mary Visser is one of my most favourite abstract artists. Internationally, I absolutely love Bobby Berger's work. She does these abstract florals, and I think that they are absolutely incredible. And then I've got a number of landscape painters that have influenced me over time. They're based all over the world, and I think it's been a real journey in my work because when I first started painting and being an artist, I was predominantly an impressionist landscape artist. So people like Richard Claremont in Australia really informed my work. And over time, I have just become much more interested in abstract work. And so that is why all these influences of mine in that particular area have really grown. At the moment, I am focusing on abstract figurative work. So abstract where you can kind of see the environment, interiors specifically, and that comes from my background in psychology. So in the psychology world, when you talk about rooms and houses, especially in dreams or in process work, it's got to do with the subconscious. And so I work a lot with working with interiors in my paintings and then abstracting them, and then figures start to emerge. And it's all about self-authenticity, growing, understanding yourself, really exploring uncomfortable feelings. I like people to feel good when they look at my work, but I also like them to wonder and be curious and look at the mystery of what's really going on in the piece. For me, the biggest challenge of being an artist is self-belief, 100%. There are days when I'm like, what am I even doing? How can I pretend that I'm an artist, especially when you're having a bad day in the studio? And, those do happen. You have these days when everything's in flow and the painting's going really well, and you have these days where you're selling great work. You have days where you get contacted for commissions. You have days where people are commenting on your social media saying, oh, wow, I love your work. And then those days where there's just nothing that happens and work isn't selling and things aren't coming together like you want, and the painting's stuck and you just don't know where to go. So for me, the biggest challenge is self-motivation, to keep believing in myself, to keep going, to push through when the times are tough, right? In terms of mediums and techniques that I use, I love to paint with oils, which is a very traditional medium because of its slow drying time. It gives you this ability to merge and meld and create shadows and fades that are just so beautiful, and it also allows you to go back and rework areas even the next day or 3 days afterwards. Whereas acrylic is a little bit more permanent and immediate, which is also great fun. I have in the past added some things like soil onto some of my landscapes, and interestingly, when I did some big prints of some of my landscape work, there were actually some tiny little bugs from the karoo, which was really interesting, and I left them because I was like, you know what, they're totally part of the process. So I don't particularly use unconventional mediums or techniques, but what I do is I always start off by painting a room. It could be an imaginary room, it could be a beautiful room that I've seen or taken a photograph of, sometimes even in a magazine, and I like to paint it upside down, and that's how I start. And then the abstractness starts to emerge, and as do the figures. When I'm painting, I love to listen to music, but again, it depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm in a Taylor Swift mood. Sometimes I like listening to like complete and utter instrumentals, and sometimes I want complete silence. It depends on what I'm trying to work on and what I'm trying to think through. But I would say more than anything, it really depends on my mood. So the best reaction I've ever had to my artwork is someone just stopping when they saw it and looking at it and just not saying a word, and then turning to me and saying, like, this is absolutely amazing. And for me, it was just a very important moment, because that is why I create art. It is to evoke something, evoke emotion. It's to bring joy, interest, spark something, to spark feeling for somebody. So the fact that somebody stopped and was moved in that way by my work was really, really important to me. And I really hope that when people see my artwork, they are curious and they see what they want to see in the work. And I always say that, especially about my abstract figurative work, is, you know, not everybody's going to see the same thing. You might see a series of marks that looks like a person, and someone else won't be able to see that. Someone will find that they are sad when they look at a piece, and others might find incredibly moved and find it really evocative and interesting. So for me, it is all about, how does a piece of art make you feel? And that is what I really believe people buy art for. Not to match with the colours of your living room, although of course if you want to buy, you know, more less expensive wall art, that's totally fine. But if you're investing in art, in original art, you buy it for the feeling. You buy it for what it does for you every day when you see it in your home. And that is why I paint, and that is why I want people to have my work in their homes, is to feel something when they see my piece every single day. Thank you.